Hello, everyone. This is Warren Thomas. Thank you for coming out this evening. We have a special presentation, and hopefully it will be one in many. I have a special guest that I'm going to introduce in a moment. But tonight we're going to talk about cryptocurrencies. For those of you who are not familiar with the terminology, you may be familiar with the type of currencies that are out there, such as Bitcoin and Ethereum, Wriggle, and there's a whole heap of others that are being created. Why did I think it was important to touch on this topic? Folks, the world is changing, and part of what I teach and I encourage my students and associates to learn is how this system actually works, and also to try to be aware of how things are changing. That way you can always position yourself in the right place. As you know, our primary focus is helping individuals and businesses raise capital. And as part of the whole financial system, you've got to understand how the system works. So that way, when the system goes through its gyrations, you're not going to be whipsawed and get your head chopped off. There are going to be some challenges in the financial markets in the future. That's a guarantee. And there may be challenges also in the currency markets. And I know most of you on the line probably you're not old enough to remember the Great Depression of 1929. But, if you did not have access to money, serious challenges surviving. And the thing that cryptocurrencies offer is the opportunity to have alternative mediums of exchange that you can utilize for goods and services and other things that you may be inclined to want to accomplish. With the advent of cryptocurrencies, I think we are basically at the beginning stage, the infancy stage, the embryonic stage, and it's just going to grow larger over the next few years. Tonight's guest is a gentleman by the name of Major Harris. Major is a friend, grew up from the old neighborhood in New York, and over the years we've touched bases on a lot of different areas, worked on a lot of different deals. We're actually involved in a few deals now. In helping clients to raise capital and, involved in other types of businesses and so forth. And but Major, curiously, over the last year or so, has been saying, Warren, we need to become more active in the cryptocurrencies. And I've been putting it off and putting it off. And then, I'm the type of person, if enough people tell me that it's something I should be looking at, I'm going to start looking. And Major was the first that, brought it to our attention. We were familiar with it, but not in the context of looking at it seriously. And Major brought it to the table, and Major's been active. And that's why I felt it was important to bring him on to share information about the cryptocurrencies, the opportunities, and so forth. So again, I'd like to introduce you to a friend and a colleague, Major Harris. Major, are you on?
Yes. Yes. Can you hear me?
Great. I can hear you clearly. Can you hear me?
Okay. Wonderful. Wonderful.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you for coming on this evening. This is going out live on Google and YouTube Live. So hopefully, some of our friends and subscribers are logging in to check out this presentation. But Major, tell me a little bit about yourself, your background, and then we're going to go into what is a cryptocurrency.
Well, a little bit about myself. I'm hearing an echo.
Okay. Do you have?
Can you hear me? Okay. I don't hear the echo anymore, so maybe you fixed whatever that is. All right, so let me get into a little bit about myself. I'm a serial entrepreneur. that means that if there's a dollar to be made, I've always found a way, whether that's real estate or I'm a speculator, whether that was gold, silver back in the early 2000s, dot coms back in the 90s, always were looking for the next opportunity. And 2010, in its infancy, it just came out around in 2009. And in 2010, really started to hear about it. I would have to credit guys like Max Kaiser for that I ever heard even talk about Bitcoin. And then in 2011, started to experiment with actually buying that. Back then, the process was a deal. There was no Coinbase back then, so you had to jump through a lot of hoops in order to even to be able to purchase a Bitcoin. It was the only cryptocurrency that really was available. Today, cryptocurrencies grown far beyond Bitcoin. Bitcoin's dominance or market share is now less than 50%. Currency space is now grown beyond 100 billion, in market cap. But that too, won't get into that. That too is a little bit because there are coins now. Bitcoin is a mineable coin, meaning you've got to every day mine. There are miners all over the world mining Bitcoin. There are new coins that have come into the space that are non-mineable coins. So, as Warren has alluded to, Ripple, and NEM and a couple of other coins that are out there. These coins, some of these coins, are not mineable, meaning they're whatever the supply is was created at birth. The entire, so if there's 1 million, 10 million, 100 million, some of these coins have 100 million coins. Well, how the market cap is calculated is like, so if it's $1 per coin, then that's attributed to the entire 100 million of these coins. So without getting bogged down into that, Bitcoin is still the top coin. And then there is a difference. And then, in later episodes, we'll get into the difference between coins and tokens. And, coins are like a Bitcoin is the business. The whole entire process is Bitcoin. Are floating on top of an existing business. So like storage or Dogecoin or the basic attention token, not Doge, but basic attention token, and even Ethereum tokens. That's Ether is not the actual business. Ether is a token that represents activities that are happening in smart contracts. So Ether is not the actual business itself. The Ether is how you interact with that underlying business model. And that's why there are so many new companies that are being developed and created using the Ethereum blockchain and the Ethereum infrastructure. So that's just a few technical points. But the main thing for newcomers is to really understand the difference between
Major, you just kind of pulled away. We lost you for a second there. All right, can you hear us?
Hold on.
You were clear 1 second, and then you just kind of faded out. Okay. Could you say something?
Okay. Yes.
Okay, we can hear you now. Go ahead.
Okay. Right. So, what is Bitcoin and what are cryptocurrencies? Bitcoin is a decentralized asset that is a global asset that exists on millions of computers. It's a computer program. The blockchain is a computer program. Bitcoin is a computer program that runs on the blockchain. So Bitcoin. Can you hear
Major,
me?
you went dark again.
Okay.
Okay, we can hear you now. Go ahead.
I'm on the road, and we're doing this through my. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm here. Go ahead. We can hear you 1 minute, then you fade right back out. We can hear. Go ahead.
Okay. What is happening, so that you understand, is unfortunately I'm speaking to you through my mobile device, and unfortunately, anytime a call comes in, it gets knocked out. So forgive me, because I'm on the road, I'm traveling, and so this is the setup that we're doing for this first time seminar, but hopefully in later dates we will work out these technical issues and be able to do it in a more professional manner. But right now, the question is, what is cryptocurrencies? What are Bitcoin? Bitcoin is a decentralized currency that is actually the first global currency, meaning that you have Bitcoin all over the world as the main asset. So forget about the local currency. You can be in Australia, in Germany, and you can interact with goods and services directly with Bitcoin without having to do any kind of exchange. And how this is made possible is that people all over the world are mining Bitcoin. People all over the world are Bitcoin. How does that happen? Let's talk about mining. Mining is basically a mathematical equation is created, and then all of these computers have to work to solve that problem. So you create Bitcoins by solving these very complex mathematical equations harder and harder every single day. So the difficulty rate of these, so whereas back in 2011, 2010, you could literally mine and create Bitcoins on this phone. If this phone existed back then, with the amount of computing power that these phones have now, or a basic laptop or a desktop, you could mine with a desktop computer. Today, industrial grade ASICs, high-end hardware, to really say that you're mining, to really make it worth your while. So unfortunately, to a lot of the people, mining is no longer really a solution, because miners now are buying in the millions and hundreds of millions in equipment actually, do mining now. So you missed that boat, but you didn't miss off Bitcoin. Now you could still probably get into mining some of these new. So you might hear the word altcoin. Altcoins are basically alternatives to Bitcoin. Anything that's not Bitcoin is considered an altcoin. And there are over 700 and growing every day with these things called ICOs. You might hear these ICO. That's initial coin offering. That's the hottest, newest thing. Think about an IPO for stocks. Now, this is what's being done in the cryptocurrency market for different new companies to raise money. And, people will have differing opinions on it, lack of regulation, or, whether they're scams or companies don't actually have the coins or anything. They just have like an idea. It's like the old days of the .com bubble, where you could just have a business plan and say, hey, I've got this great idea. Like the idea, think about crowdfunding, think about Kickstarter, and now just add a coin to it. So they have an idea, they create a coin, and then they're able to go out there and raise money. Now, I'm not saying that all of these things are scams or anything of that nature. They're, I'm sure, from this ICO market, just like from the IPO market, just like from the Googles, Facebooks, they all came about, Amazon. Stories of coins that literally you could buy today or buy in on today for a penny and get millions of these coins. And, that will go on to be great companies. And that's the other thing. Bitcoin is not a company. A lot of these altcoins are companies, meaning they have a creator, someone that's let's say a president, a CEO, a company that's running this operation. Dash is a great example of a what I think is a good company that's running this, but Bitcoin there is nobody, there are executives that run Bitcoin. Bitcoin is just a totally free market, decentralized. There's nobody in charge. People that are in charge are people that are using it, mining it, and that's about it. One that can say yes or no, and they have the final word. Ethereum is a company. Vitalik Buterin runs Ethereum. So Buterin wants to do, that's what will happen with Ethereum. Ethereum is a company. Bitcoin is not. Bitcoin doesn't have, people will say Satoshi Nakamoto. Who knows? I could be Satoshi Nakamoto. Nobody knows. So what that does is it enables Bitcoin to really just, because there's no cult of personality around that. There is no Steve Jobs effect around that person. Imagine if Moto was known, everybody would be talking about what Satoshi Nakamoto thinks or wants to do, and not going today, just talking purely about Bitcoin, not concentrating on, just for the first time, think about it. I can't really think of another situation where you just have something where internet, a lot of people don't know a lot of the people that really created, you know, software that really created, you know, the internet, but we still use it. But there were people that actually created a lot of these protocols that we use today, TCP protocol. All of these protocols were created, but you don't talk about those individuals. The internet, Bitcoin is the same thing, or similar. It's like the internet in the 19. To me, this is just my belief. Bitcoin is, and all the whole cryptocurrency space, is 8 years old. Like I said, 2009 to today is their 8-year anniversary. That's like an 8-year-old child. It's a baby. So and today, 20 years ago, Bitcoin was, 8 years ago, Bitcoin was selling for pennies. Today, it's $2,700 per Bitcoin. Now, understand, like I know I've been going on for a while, so I'll try to really cap it off. Money, not a currency, and a currency. And understand, people to understand is why Bitcoin money.
Major, we lost you again. Major,
Can you hear me?
like we hear you now.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Right. Bitcoin is money. Why do I say Bitcoin is money? The pieces of paper that you have in your pocket, Federal Reserve notes, are currency. Pounds, sterling, euros, these are currencies. These are mediums of exchange. Now, Bitcoin is also a medium of exchange, but one valuable ingredient that these other currencies don't have, that says that Bitcoin is money while these other currencies are just currencies, exchange of, basically a sophisticated barter system and not money, is because Bitcoin is one of the best stores of value today. As an old gold bug, I used to be big on gold and silver. Because of the level of gold and silver is money. But unfortunately, due to the high level of manipulation in the paper markets, CME Group and the COMEX, such a level of manipulation and fraud that is not a good store of value. The main differentiation point between money and a currency. Money of value. A currency is not. Hence, this is why your buys you less, has less purchasing power every year. Bitcoin has a higher purchasing power every year. If you go back every year, you could buy more things with Bitcoin. It's not that the Bitcoin has remained the same. That you need to buy a Bitcoin is what has changed. Not that Bitcoin's price has gone up. It's the value of the dollar has gone down. So you need more. Whereas there was a time when $1 could buy you one Bitcoin. Now you need 2,700 or more dollars to buy that same Bitcoin, is because that's purchasing power of that dollar has gone year over year. And as this continues to happen due to certain global factors, if you look at the latest report, the amount of store closings which will put further pressure on real unemployment, not the fake U3 6 unemployment numbers that which says 4.3 unemployment. The real unemployment numbers will show that even when you're looking at hundreds of thousands of store closings, even put further pressure on the purchasing power of your dollar. As more people are unemployed, less people are out there, the velocity of money decreases. Henceforth, you will have a lower purchasing power, meaning this all helps to fuel the rise of Bitcoin. But it's not only a US issue, it's a global issue. So globally, Venezuelan dollar is sinking, Brazilian dollar is sinking, the Chinese renminbi is sinking, the yuan is sinking. All of these currencies. So why do people think? So when I say I see $5,000, $6,000 for Bitcoin and a great future for cryptocurrencies, it's going to get controversial. I see a greater future for cryptocurrencies than almost every other asset class, and that includes gold, silver, state, you know, even a lot of technology products. Well, Bitcoin could be considered a tech product. So, and cryptocurrencies in general, not just Bitcoin. That's really the main crux. If anyone has any questions, and the floor back up.
Okay, this is what we'll do. For those of you who have access to the chat, you can put a question in the chat. Major, can you see the chat area? Any questions coming up?
No, I can't see any kind of chat area. Let me see if maybe.
Oh.
No, I don't see any chat area.
Okay. All right. My tech person just stepped out, so when he comes back in, I'm gonna see if he can pull up the chat. But in lieu of that, I'm gonna ask some questions. And
sure.
You mentioned a few very important points that I want to kind of reiterate. In the fact of one, the cryptocurrencies versus your standard currency, your FNR, your Federal Reserve notes, your yuan or renminbi, or your ruble or rupee. The future of those the cryptos versus the standard currencies. You mentioned that you feel that the cryptos will appreciate. I agree with you 100%. I remember listening to dealing with gold, and he mentioned that in the 30s, you could have purchased a fine suit, pair of shoes, shirt, and a tie for a gold dollar. Today, you can purchase a fine suit and a tie for that same gold dollar, but you've got to use $1,100 of Federal Reserve notes in order to buy that same suit, tie, and shoes. Meaning that the gold dollar is still the same. It's the Federal Reserve note that depreciates. In relationship to all these other currencies, why do you feel that more folks will start flocking to the cryptos over the next few months and also the next few years?
Well, the situation is with the currencies are subject to, there are a lot of counterparties, meaning geopolitical happenings, what's happening in the local political happenings. So all of these things impact that local currency, meaning the ruble is subject to oil prices, it's subject to turmoil in Russia. dollar is subject to counterparty risk because of, once again, internal geopolitical. There are many things that impact trade balance. So if how much trade is happening, all of these things are right now. You know, the dry index is at, you know, really lows because the amount of goods actually being shipped, because, you know, so think about America. America is 70% service. Well, you've built this country that used to be manufacturing industrial base has become a service base. Waiters, waitresses, Uber drivers. Well, happens when, so what's going to happen to those 6 million Uber drivers when, or maybe even less, self-driving cars are legalized everywhere? Uber drivers, see, people think it's about Uber drivers. Who cares about Uber drivers? People who need to wake up are the truck drivers. So if your job is to haul loads New York to California, or really from California to New York, to get those produce, those strawberries from, well, now you can have that tractor trailer, GPS and everything, and that truck will drive itself from California to New York. How many truck drivers are out there?
Exactly.
Those
And
jobs are going to be eliminated. Those Uber driver jobs are going to be eliminated. You know, transportation is a huge industry. So when you see that, how does that impact the dollar? Well, now there are less people holding, because if you don't have a job and you don't have the money, you don't have the ability to engage in that service economy. Go to those restaurants, you're buying less. So now China has to look at it, who used to be the man who, and the South Asian rim, China, Vietnam, Korea, Taiwan, they were making stuff because Americans were buying stuff. Europeans were buying stuff. But now Americans can't buy as much stuff. Europeans are not buying as much stuff. There's less disposable income, you know, to buy stuff. You know, so those are all negative for the dollars and for these currencies. Why does Bitcoin have an advantage? Because Bitcoin is not subject to those risks from any particular, because it's a global currency. Now, there's some conspiracy theorists out there that would say, hey, the one world currency is here. And it's Bitcoin and its cryptos. Because every single one of these cryptos are not based in any particular jurisdiction. So there is no regulation that can be put on Bitcoin in America, because Bitcoin is not regulated to America. It's not solely being transacted in America. I mean, China can do whatever, Americans could say whatever, but the people are choosing this because of that fact that it's a store of value. So if you see a thing, more and more people are realizing right now your interest rates and your savings that these banks are offering. See, and understand that interest rates, people in the 60s and 70s were able to save because, and actually was a way to actually improve your life, because they were paying in the 80s, interest rates went up into the teens. You could just leave and watch that money grow, double, triple, just from having it in a savings account. Not anymore. You're getting 1%.
Or if you're in
So
Japan, you get minus 0%.
exactly. In Europe, they just held the negative interest rates. So, you know, you're not getting, so the old way of thinking, to say I'm going to save my way out of the doldrums of whether it be poverty or paycheck to paycheck, exists. That's false. That's old. That's, you know, Darwin didn't say survival of the fittest. He said the entity that's able to adapt to the changing environment the best is the organism that will uh, move forward into the future. And I'm just here to tell people you need to wake up and, you know, get out of those bank accounts, get out of those savings accounts, and, you know, not to say you need to be. Bitcoin is actually, it's funny now. Bitcoin is the more stable of the cryptocurrencies. You know, you won't see the wild 100% swings as you see in some of these altcoins, but steadily every year, year over year, has produced, you know, high returns versus any currency out there. You know, even the Swiss franc that used to be a rock solid stable has, you know, seen trouble within recent years. So that's why, based on those fundamentals, with currencies globally, when you put Bitcoin not against American dollar, now put Bitcoin against every single currency. So the price will go up for Bitcoin because the currency is plummeting. In Venezuela, as these particular pockets run into serious problems, the people in that area, in that locale, need to find a way to protect and to store value. And Bitcoin, for them to do that in these areas globally.
Quick question in regards to, as you were saying, I just kind of slipped my thought. Okay, storehouse of value, right? One of the questions that came across to me a few months ago, and I think I asked you, Bitcoin and all these cryptos they're basically in cyberspace, right? Now, from what I understand, you can actually take the physical script for each coin and its code, and you can store it outside of cyberspace. Let's say on a hard drive, and or I heard one gentleman mention if you got 100 bitcoins and you got all your script, your text for each coin, you can actually put it in a bank vault. There is no one can duplicate your coins in that sense. Talk to us about the ability to move your coin offline, so-called into the real world.
Well, once again, remember that it is a cryptography. So when you see that long chain of, or that address, that is cryptographic representation of value. So that then says somewhere in the ledger value that is held in the ledger, i.e. the blockchain. So you can, yes, you can, whether that is cold storage is a word you might hear, or in a hardware wallet. So these are devices, hardware wallets, devices that you can put that script into that doesn't have any access to the internet. Your phone or your laptop or your PC that still has the entry point to the internet. As you all know, the NSA can, or hackers of any sort, can, even when you think your phone or your laptop or your desktop is off, can turn it on, access your information without you even knowing. The purpose of these hardware wallets is that they're in a space where there is no, it's like a black box where there is no way to, for hackers, the NSA, or any agency or any nefarious character to gain access, because it's offline, where there is no signal or way to actually get at that cryptographic information. Now, with that being said, simply print out that QR code and that same script and have it on a piece of paper. That I wouldn't recommend putting in a bank vault, because same thing exists. And FYI, if some people say, I don't have my money in the bank account, I have my valuables stored in the safety deposit box. Well, if there's ever an issue with the bank, you will not be able to get to that safety deposit box.
It's all
all of those assets,
yeah,
are held by the bank, even those that's in safety deposit boxes. So I wouldn't recommend, if you buy a hardware wallet, a Trezor, a Ledger wallet, any of these hardware wallets that are out there, if you're looking to store a significant amount of coin or any kind of cryptocurrency, I would highly recommend that. Or to simply print out, and you could print out several of them and keep them in different locations. And once that's scanned, but understand that still has to go back to the blockchain in order to be verified. Now, when it's offline, that's great. But in order to actually use it and move it and do a transaction, it still would have to go back to and be scanned to actually go back to say, okay, Warren wants to give Major $1 million from his account and transfer it over to Major's account. That sounds like a good thing for Warren to do.
I know you would think so. Go ahead.
Yeah, I vote for that. But that's the way how you can actually store offline, and it's a good way trading, or you're just holding for a long term. Then that's a very good recommend that if you're just holding on and you're like, I'm not going to do anything with these coins for another year or two, definitely put them in cold storage. Get get yourself a hardware wallet, or do something where there is no real access. Don't just hold it on your phone or on your or PC.
Can I want to add something? And I'm going to talk about a couple of things, decentralization, that we mentioned that earlier. Um, I want to get back to that. But for those of you who have started to become familiar with the Bitcoin phenomenon, you've probably heard several individuals have become multimillionaires owning Bitcoins, where they may have purchased $100 worth of Bitcoin, 10 years ago. I mean, excuse me, 8 years ago. And now that $100 worth of Bitcoin is worth about north of $7 million. So there's been tremendous appreciation in the value, as Major talked about, the storehouse of value in these currencies. So it's very important that you guys become familiar. And what I recommend, and I think Major would do also, is start doing some research. There are a lot of videos online in regards to cryptos that you can become familiar with. But this is a place that those of you who are interested, not only in learning, but actually exchanging, will offer that opportunity. One other thing in regards to decentralization that Major mentioned, on the conspiracy side, it's usually the fact that the global currency tends to be a centralized currency, usually controlled by Bank of International Settlements, or the IMF, through their structure, their drawing rights currency, and or one of the global Federal Reserve type central banks. The interesting thing that kind of takes it away from that particular conspiracy model is the fact that, as Major said, the cryptos are decentralized. They're actually controlled by the people. And in subsequent episodes, we're going to talk about decentralized versus centralized and how the banking system works. Uh, again, if you're about making money and if you're about getting money, you better understand how money is created. Because when you understand how money is created, then you will always be in the position to have it. Don't be one of those individuals that are swayed or controlled by the vagaries of external forces that manipulate markets, as Major talked about. Something happened within the system that created this Bitcoin, and whether it's the gentleman that Major mentioned or some force in the ether decided that we need to kind of restructure the global financial system, and we're going to interject this concept into this organism, this financial organism, hence creating what we now call the cryptos. Something happened, and it's up to us now, those of us who understand and follow how money works and are interested in the use of it to grow wealth. We need to figure out how this thing can work to our advantage. So this episode, I mean, these calls will also, and these webinars will also be about how we build wealth trading these currencies and so forth. Major, you did mention briefly about trading, and we'll go into it on a future date. It's about the ability of trading. I'll give you one example. I was listening to a young man. He's been involved in Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies for the last 3 months now. Last month, he took out about 12 grand on a very small investment. He took 12 grand in FNR, Federal Reserve notes, based on the appreciation of these coins. But what he said, he gave an interesting example, because many of you online, you may have family outside of this country. his family is sisters in Zimbabwe, and he needed to send her money so she could buy goods and services in Zimbabwe. And if you guys know about Zimbabwe, Zimbabwe has very high inflation, um, and in relationship to their currency due to, again, external global financial forces and so forth. But he was able to transfer via Bitcoin uh, uh, a couple of $100 to his sister in Zimbabwe, and it took him only about 3 or 4 minutes. That was, to me, amazing. There was no cost. If you send Western Union or even if in PayPal, only up till recently you can transfer money in PayPal without a cost. But prior, you would have to pay, or if you use any of the other services to transfer money to family members outside of the United States, it will cost you. Talk to us about how trade can be done utilizing the cryptos, and if you have any other examples of that.
Okay, when you say do whatever you did before because the echo is back. Okay, I can. Okay, it's fixed now. Okay, when you say trade, I think you're speaking about a trade in the two different
in two different senses, in money transfer and
in money
also
transfer and in like day trading, or you know trading from a monetary on some kind of exchange. Okay, let's first deal with a global economics. Um, the big thing is the remittance market. That's always been, the remittance markets is hundreds of billions of dollars. Now, Bitcoin is, and a lot of cryptocurrencies are duly suited to handle a lot of that. Like you said, I could send money to anybody in the world for, the fees for Bitcoin have kind of gone up significantly. The highest fee that I paid was recently is $6. But imagine you're sending $100,000, you could send it for, there's $5. That fee is depending upon the amount of traffic any particular day. It can be as low as $2, as low as $1 that you could send. If it's a low traffic point of the day, then you could remit this money back to Africa, South America, wherever you wish to, for a very low fee compared to other existing models that are out there, and relatively fast. So, like you said, even though Bitcoin has slowed down, but you could use other cryptocurrencies. Dash, for one, is very fast. So in a matter of minutes, your sister, brother, uncle, wherever in the world can receive this money in their account or in their wallet, and then use it. Well, I advise people go to coinbase.com. If you're in a state that allows it, the only state that really doesn't is New York. But if you're in many other states, you can go to Coinbase, and not only can you buy Bitcoin, but you can get that allows you with a Visa logo that allows you to spend that. So now you're getting into real world application. So it's not that you just have to buy and hold, but you now with Coinbase has one called a Shift card. BitPay has one. Now go and spend, buy your groceries, buy whatever that you Visa card through your Bitcoin. And so now you're the price appreciation of the Bitcoin, and you're able to use it without having to transfer out into back to fiat. Amazing. So now you're never leaving the uh the the crypto universe, because now these debit cards, you can have your money in Coinbase or in your BitPay wallet, and now never have to cash out to fiat again or to these Federal Reserve notes to then be able to buy your groceries. You could just take your debit card, your Bitcoin debit card, down to the grocery store and swipe, and there you go. You just bought your groceries while still having the ability for the rest of your value that is in that account to consistently, year over year. I'm not talking about a day to day. Price fluctuations are on day to day. So you might see a point go down here, a point go up here. But year over year, I think, especially if, the past doesn't necessarily dictate the future, but if you look back at the years, every year, year over year, you've seen significant gains in Bitcoin versus any other currency. That's why I highly recommend it. And that's really looking to protect their value of their hard work. Because when you work currency, you want to store that hard-earned labor. So you don't want, if you think about it like this, if you make $10 an hour, that means an hour's worth of your labor is worth $10. Well, if you go to the store today and you can buy, a gallon of milk and bread with $10, but if you go to the store next month and you need $12 to buy that same gallon of milk and a loaf of bread, well, then your labor and devalued, because now you have to work twice as hard, because now you got to work 2 hours to buy the same thing. That's the thing that you really have to look at. And that's why so many people around the world, you hear a lot of people say this: hard, and I'm not getting anywhere. Because, you and value and how to protect off your labor.
Great, great. Major, another thing, I'd like for you to give your contact information for anyone that's interested in learning more about Bitcoin or other cryptos. We'll do it at the end of the program also, but just kind of, if you have anything you want to share, an email address, a phone number, for anyone that's interested in learning about Bitcoin and even purchasing. I know you recently purchased some coins on behalf of some of the folks in our network, and you can be purchasing more. So,
Yeah.
real quick, what's your contact information, and then we'll get into some other questions.
We trade. We trade own personal book and for select friends and family. And we also, we sell the entire spectrum of coins that are out there. And if anyone is interested, that information is majorharris@gmail.com, majorharris@gmail.com. Drop me a line. Have any questions? We'd be more than happy to help you build your portfolio. And, definitely hope to see people just think of Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies as a tool to maintain and store the value of their hard work.
Now, let's talk about opportunities, and we're going to go into more detail. Again, everyone, those of you listening, this is a kind of an introductory call. We're going to go into more calls that will delve deeper into specific subject matters. There's some terms that Major use, like blockchain and so forth, e-wallets, things of that nature that we're going to go on other occasions into more detail, because we want you guys to learn as much as you can in regards to the whole cryptocurrency space and so forth. But one of the things that I want to encourage as many of you guys to understand, there are some serious opportunities that are going to be created over the next few months and few years. Major talked about the ICOs, initial coin offerings. I will also say there may be some of companies that are directly involved in the crypto space, but are developing real world either technology, software, or other products and services that people can use. This is a how could I put it? This is a market space that's open for anyone and everyone with a solid idea for a business opportunity. If you guys remember, when the people who made money during like the gold rush, right? You had a lot of the guys who were miners. They were the ones on the mountains and the streams panning for gold and digging for gold. But the guy who always made money was the guy who sold on the picks and shovels and the buckets and the pans. So I want those of you who are listening to think about yourself outside of not only trading cryptos, but what other products and services can you come up with that you can actually create a business model around that will take you to the next level and so forth. One of the things that we're looking at is the opportunity, and I want Major to talk about this real quick, not in detail because it's under the wraps, but we're also looking at creating our own cryptocurrency that hopefully will bring out to the marketplace. And those of you who are listeners will have first crack at that particular opportunity. Major, talk about the opportunity in creating a crypto that can be utilized in particular by populations who may find it difficult to access capital and so forth and other financial resources.
Well, as I said, the ICO market is the crowdfunding 2.0. The ICOs, so some of these ICOs are just, for example, there are new ICOs offering that is not based on any kind of technology product. There's a guy that's doing an ICO to fund a film, making a movie, and he's using the ICO model to raise money to. Now, you can regulate it. Pardon me. That's the main thing to realize. There's zero regulations. So no one could tell you what you can and can't do. Now, I would advise you to, still maybe sit with your lawyer and get some legal advice. Really and truly, the only limitation is that of your imagination. Coins, there's a Trump coin, there's a Theresa May coin. There are coins that some have zero, are jokes, and some that are. So yes, you can, if you have a business, if you have a hair salon, you could create your own tokens, and you can create that allows. Now understand this. Think about this. Think about if Apple, and I do believe Apple, if they're smart, they're going to do this. Remember, you heard it here. I think because of Apple's community and the fervor and just the love that people have for Apple, people are like, religious about Apple. Apple could say our own tokens, Apple coin, and buy products with the Apple coins, not Apple Pay, but Apple coins. If you use the Apple coins to buy computers, phones, whatever products, you get a 20% discount or a 10% discount on the price. The reason that would make sense is there is friction in every transaction, merchant services, this fee that you got to pay to these banks, and a huge conglomerate like Apple doing hundreds of billions of dollars in transactions every year would save billions. There's nobody else they have to give any of this money to. Because you go out, you buy the Apple token, and then you go to Apple and you buy and you give them back the token to buy their products. There's no middleman. There's no bank involved to take a fee or a cut. You could do the same thing. You're a hairstylist. You have a hair salon. Pay me, go buy these tokens, and when you come to the hair salon, use the tokens, and then you can convert the tokens, because remember, they bought the tokens with cash. They had to use cryptos or cash or something, tokens. So let's say you're buying major coins, and that money you gave to me already. But it's major coins. So if you bought them, now when you come back to redeem for whatever goods or services, just doing, but in essence, I've already got paid. I got paid the day you bought the tokens. You understand? So fantastic time to be alive. Create your own, you can create your own economy. Tell you anything. You can
Exactly.
create whatever coin for any business you want. You can create a coin.
Exactly.
Amazing.
And that's what I'm saying. For those of you guys listening, we want you guys to put on your thinking caps. If you're in a situation right now, you're struggling, you can't make ends meet. You got more month at the end of the money than money at the end of the month. You got to start looking at these kind of alternatives. As Major mentioned, there's tremendous opportunities here, and part of what we're hopefully going to make available to you guys is the opportunity to see what is out there, what can be taken advantage of. And again, just don't think about making money off of the appreciations. There's other ways you can trade and utilize these coins and tokens and build a storehouse of wealth for yourself and your family. We're going to start winding it down. And again, for those of you who are interested in finding out more about cryptos, we're going to set up a schedule for these kind of discussions with Major. Try to update you guys on things that are happening in industry, so that way you'll be well aware. And once we have the schedule, you can either go to the YouTube channel, Warren Thomas, and or you can also contact Major at his email address. That's majorharris@gmail.com, majorharris@gmail.com. And keep an eye out. Those of you also, please, if you like what you've heard, like this video, subscribe to our channel, and you'll receive not only information about cryptocurrencies, but as you visit our channel, you'll see that there's other information about raising capital. Major mention about starting, if you're a salon owner. Well, what about if you wanted to start a salon or start a beauty supply store? We'll help you get the money. Real estate will help you get the money. Whatever your needs are financially, we will help you get the money. You can actually access via your credit at no cost to you. All you're basically paying back is the principal. And that can be anywhere from 6 months to 24 months. Those are the kind of opportunities that are out there. And what we'll be bringing to you are ways you can change your life financially. Major, is there any last words you want to say to our listening audience before we wrap it up?
Buy crypto. Buy Bitcoin. Buy as many as you possibly can before they go to the moon.
Well, that was succinct, and I appreciate that. Again, our guest tonight was Major Harris. We're going to work on the technology for some. There may be gaps but there will be enough follow-up programs that will cover what you've probably missed. And if you have questions, reach out to Major. Or you can reach out to me directly, and we'll take it from there. So on that note, friends, family, thank you guys for listening in, and I'll see you on the road to success and prosperity. Have a good evening.
Have a good evening.